Welcome back to Project 613. Today we are going to learn 4 mitzvot that all have to do with capital punishment in the Torah. So before we learn the actual mitzvot, it's important that we have a general introduction about the concept of capital crimes and capital punishment and why the Torah even includes capital punishment. And one of the main ideas is that the Torah talking about capital punishment is not so much for the sake of using it as much as it is for the sake of it serving as a deterrent. You see, when a person knows the severity of the law, that it's possible that technically a violation of this law could bring to a capital punishment, this will help encourage a person to keep the law, to be more meticulous, and in general, to have more of a derech eretz, more of a respect for the law by realizing how severe the Torah considers a violation of the law. If the Torah considers this so severe that it warrants capital punishment, this must actually be something that is extremely important. And therefore, I have to do my utmost to make sure to keep it. This is the reason why the Torah includes this, but not for the sake of actually using it. In fact, the sages of the Talmud tell us that a Beit Din who would implement capital punishment even just once in 7 years, and according to another version, even just once in 70 years, the Beit Din would be considered a criminal Beit Din. Yes, the judges are called a criminal Beit Din. Why? Because they should have found a defense in this case, and they should not have actually used the capital punishment. Capital punishment in the Torah needs to be reserved for the most extreme of cases. But in general, it is something that was there to serve as a deterrent, not to actually be used. And with that introduction, we will actually understand the reasoning behind the first 2 mitzvot that we are going to learn today, which point in the same direction of trying to help that the Beit Din should not actually implement the capital punishment. The first mitzvah that we learn is that although we know that the Torah always tells us to follow the majority, and we actually learned that as a mitzvah yesterday, that whenever we have a disagreement between judges, we follow the majority. However, the exception to the rule is when it comes to issuing a capital verdict by a 1-vote majority. Over here, it is forbidden to follow the majority. The verse says, "You shall not follow the majority for evil." And what that means practically is that if there is a disagreement between a panel of judges, whether or not the defendant is deserving of capital punishment, and the group of judges that wishes to convict is only a majority by 1 vote, it is forbidden to follow them, and it would be forbidden to execute the defendant. We need a broader majority when it comes to capital punishment. The second mitzvah that we learn today is that each of the judges sitting on the panel each have to examine the case on their own. They cannot say, "It is enough for me to rely on a greater judge. I'm satisfied simply by agreeing with the opinion of a judge who I consider to be greater than me." No, each one of the judges on their own have to examine the entire case and offer their own opinion based on their own independent examination, and that is the opinion that they have to state. And within this law, there are a number of sub-laws as well in order to make sure that this is followed. So number one, when there is a panel of judges, we would never start by hearing the greatest judge first, the most experienced and most seasoned judge first. Why? Because once the greatest judge voices his opinion, it's only natural that a lower judge will say, "Well, if this is his opinion, certainly I won't argue with him and I'll just agree." And since we do not want this to happen, we always start by the lower judges. They are the first to say their opinion, whether it's in defense or it's against. They state their opinion first, and then we work our way up, and the greatest judge speaks last. Another similar thing is that whenever hearing a capital case, we always have to start, the proceedings always have to begin by presenting a defense for the defendant before talking about why he would be guilty. That is the second mitzvah that we learned today. And the third and fourth mitzvahs that we learned today are the actual methods of capital punishment. 2. There are actually 4. We're going to learn more of them tomorrow. But the first 2 that we learn about today is, number 1, capital punishment through stoning. That is the third mitzvah. And number 2, capital punishment through burning. And each one of these have its own details to them, which we don't have time to talk about today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.